Right, so in this video I want to talk about painting the ear and coloring it in, and not so much about skin tones, because that's just a whole other video and it doesn't vary that much with an ear, maybe just a little bit redder, but about something that happens mostly with ears, sometimes with fingers, and that's subsurface scattering, or when you have a light shining behind the ear and some of the light diffuses through the ear and you get like a red glow. And my recording of this ear failed for some reason. The dialogue boxes kept getting stuck on screen. I don't know what was happening. Hopefully the slightly lower frame rate on this video will be fine. But we won't get any problems with the graphics. So, to draw this ear, I got some reference. I'll put a link to these in the description and an annotation. And so these are my reference images. They were just crops of some CC images I found with this effect. So if you want to practice, you can use those. And then since my recording failed, I'm gonna have to go over this real quick by hand. So first I have a gray background, and I find that's a nice neutral tone to start with. Color layer, and just the basic skin tone. And then I added two more layers, and I'm going to put them in black and white first, so you can see how the value changes. So in this first layer, I added light, like it's coming in from the top, but not behind the ear. So it's not glowing through just yet. And then I added the layer for if the light was glowing from shining in from the back. So to this I could add color and it would look fine. So I'm gonna take the black and white out because these were done in color. I already had that color layer. So we have those two. I'm gonna flick through them a few times so you can see the difference. Especially so right here and right here is where you tend to get light shining through. Almost never through this Y bit, because the skin is folded, so it's unlikely to happen. The skin is thin in those two areas. So next I did a layer, actually a group, and I set the group, this is wrong, to color. So set the group to color, and inside the group I have two layers. The base, which this could be any color as long as it's a color, and you can adjust the opacity if it's too bright. And then I have a hue saturation adjustment layer. To do that, go to layer, new adjustment layer, hue saturation, and double click and on the little icon if you close this, but this should pop up when you make the layer. And basically what this allows you to do is to change the color. This is also very useful for the skin tone in general. So if you added the color and it's maybe a bit too yellow, a bit too red, you can shift it a bit. You can get crazy skin colors like, I don't know, zombie or something. It's quite easy to adjust with a hue saturation here. And real quick, before I get into the color part of this, I want to talk a bit about when this does and doesn't happen, so the position of the light. So let me get rid of that. And here I already drew it during the failed recording. And basically, if you're looking at the head from the top, so this is the top, and this is the side, and the angle of the ear you're seeing here from the top, if the light has to be in this arc right here for it to shine through. The moment it moves over here, you'll just get regular lighting. There's sometimes a bit of an edge that forms around the ear, like a white edge or whatever the color of the light is. So you get something like that. And this depends on how close the light is, and you can see this if you you get a mirror and a flashlight or something, and the closer it is, the more it lights up like these tiny little hairs on the edge of the ear. And sometimes you might get a bit of light bouncing off here and on the earlobe, but that's about it. If you add too much of that, it looks weird because, again, this angle right here separates the two, and it's usually either one or the other. And same thing from the apart from having to be in this arc over here, if you're looking at the head from the side, the light should be in the back in this arc. So like here, you have to consider a light shining from here wouldn't shine through the ear because you've got your shoulder over here. So that limits the arc from above the ear to the line from the ear to the shoulder. And now that I covered that, I want to go back to the color of the light. And this, when I go into the hue and adjustment, you can adjust it anywhere you want, but for example, this would be completely incorrect. This would never happen in real life. You can test this out if you grab like multicolored LEDs or some Christmas lights or something, and you can, with your fingertips, or put them behind your ear and look at yourself in the mirror. But white light will shine through red or reddish orange. Red light will shine through red, a really bright red. Green will sort of shine through yellow, a bit better than green, and then blue will not shine in at all. You might get some light that's like bouncing off the wall or something else, but you won't get it shining actually through the ear. So I tried this, and it made me wonder what would happen like with different skin tones. I know if the skin is darker, it just decreases the effect. But I was wondering, for example, if you had weirdly colored skin, so like if you had green skin or blue skin, what happened? Was the light acting like a filter, or did it have to do, for example, with the wavelengths, with red being a longer wavelength and blue being shorter? And this has to do, for example, with why your veins seem blue but not red. So, was it that? Was it the filter? So I thought the best way to try this, especially with odd skin tones, I mean, really almost the only way, because I don't have any like silicone monster prosthetics laying around. But I got a 3D model, and this is a free 3D model. It's available under a CC BY license, so you can use it basically for whatever you want as long as you credit. And here's a sample render. And you can also find it in the site. I'll leave a link to both the 3D model and the site, which lets you, without a 3D program or anything, just online, you can try out different lighting combinations, like move the light around, put a couple lights, change the color. So basically you can do what I did, minus changing the skin tone, but you can change the color of the light, and you'll get the subsurface scattering and everything. It's really a really good resource. So I'll put a link to both those things in the description. But for the head, basically, as you can see, I downloaded it, and then I like to use C4D. And I went in manually with Picasa, and this is the original texture over here, and I changed it to like a corpse white, kind of purplish red, a blue, a green, and a darker skin tone. And then also in C4D, to enable the subsurface scattering, you have to go into the material settings, and this will be different depending on your 3D program. But for me, under luminance, I have to go to texture and effects, subsurface scattering, and the texture that I showed you over here, that's set under color, so you just add the texture over there. And I didn't use a regular light, I used an object with the luminance property, so that works better. And to render this all properly, in the render settings, you have to turn on the effect for global illumination. And it might look kind of spotty depending on what setting you use, but you'll see the effect nonetheless. But I already prepared some renders, and I even made a little chart for reference. So here are all the renders, and that took a while, so I can't do them in video. Took like a day to render all these. And here is the chart. And it basically confirmed my suspicion that the skin is mostly acting like a filter. I've added these little lines to remind me of what light is shining through. But basically, you choose a skin tone, and then you go across the whole color wheel. And I think there's a little, like, the wavelengths have to do a little tiny bit because the effect isn't the same. For example, if you have blue skin with red lighting, you still get some red. You can see it right there. But if you have light or dark skin, which means it's acting as a red filter, you get hardly any blue light. In fact, I think this light over here is bounced light. It's not actually going through the ear. I'd have to check that, but it's very minimal compared to red over here, which tends to shine in through both the blue and the green. So that has a little bit to do with it, but in general, what you can do is, if you get a CMY color wheel, because that's more accurate, and that's what most like 3D programs use. An RGY color wheel isn't accurate for this. But basically, what you do is you choose your skin tone. Actually, let me add in a white. So the middle's white, and then you have the color wheel. And say you have a red skin tone, so that's like our skin. And if you have white light, you get that color. Oops, you get red. And if you have a yellow light, it tends towards orange. And if you have a magenta light, it'll go that way. So basically, you're color mixing. And the colors on this side will be less bright, and this one will be almost non-existent. Unless, of course, it's red, which just shines a little bit through everything. So it's quite simple to do if you don't have the chart for reference, but I made it anyways, because it's very useful. And I'll provide a link to both these things. Well, not so much the color wheel, but I'll provide a link to the chart. So back to the ear, now that we know that, and it's not something perfectly accurate, but it's better than nothing, now we know that this wouldn't be possible, and you can adjust the hue and saturation accordingly. So you might get all the way from here to over here, and you might have to adjust the saturation right here and the layer brightness depending on the color to make it look natural. Anyways, I hope this helps, especially if you're doing like fantasy art or you have weird skin tones. This is something to keep in mind. Adding this effect can add a bit of realism to whatever you're drawing, like prevent the character from looking too flat or something. You can add a light behind them, and it's pretty cool to like have things in silhouette, and you wouldn't get a pure silhouette in real life. So this would be a cool way to indicate that. So anyways, I hope that helped. I'll put a link to everything. If you like my videos, subscribe, check out my blog, share this. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon. All my Patreons will get access to the PSDs for my videos, and sometimes extra content and stuff like that.